Hi folks, it's been a while since I've done a rant, I realize, but it's time for me to tell you about the most worthless piece of crap I have on this farm. Yes, it's this Champion generator. I'll show you a little bit here and I'll explain what's going on. It's a 3500 watt, 120 volt, gas powered generator. We bought it, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago at Lowe's. It has maybe 5 hours on it. When I got it, brought it home, did the rest of the assembly, which was just basically putting the handle on. Put some gas in it, fired it up, worked fine. Didn't use it for a number of months. Where I was living at the time, they had a hurricane and a lousy power company, so we went days without power. I tried to use this to keep things cold and so on. Couldn't get it to start. It just would not start. I'm pulling, would not start. Tried with the choke, without the choke. So I finally got through to the customer service for Champion. I think they're somewhere on the West Coast. And the guy said, oh, well, probably what happened is the ethanol in the gas has destroyed your carburetor because we put, he didn't say it this way, but it's what he meant, we put cheap plastic carburetors in them. I said, okay, well, you know, I've hardly ever used the thing. Why don't you send me a new carburetor to replace it? Well, I fought with him for, I don't know, a few hours on and off with phone calls about whether they would replace it or I'd have to pay for it, even though it's their garbage product. And he said, oh, by the way, well, with this one you have to start it up every 3 weeks or so just to keep it running right. I thought, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because you want a generator that's handy, you want it out of sight, out of mind, and then suddenly when you need it, it's reliable. This thing is not reliable. Now I did finally get, at a drastically reduced rate, a new carburetor. My son put it on, and then it worked okay for a bit. Well, I've since run it maybe every 3 months or so, and it takes a while to get started, but it finally does. I always put Sta-Bil in my gas, and in the wintertime I even add heat, the dry gas. So it's not a defective fuel issue, it's a defective design issue. I just tried for hours here to get it started again. The other day the power went off. I dragged it over to the house, tried to pull start it, and ripped the starter cord. That's how much I pulled to try to start. I've worn out the cord. So I spent a couple hours here today replacing or repairing the cord, trying to get it started again. It kicked over once or twice but wouldn't stay running. So I thought, all right, I'll pull the plug. I pulled the plug was fouled. I cleaned the plug up with sandpaper. It was nice and shiny, the contacts on the plug. Put it back together. Tried to start it again, and it wouldn't stay running at all. There's no way to prime this other than the old-fashioned way of just turning the switch off and pulling the cord several times to try to prime it like that. There's no primer bulb. There's either on or off with the gas line, and then there's a choke. But there isn't much else that you can do. It has no throttle. It either runs or it doesn't run. And it's a worthless piece of junk. Okay, I'm telling you this so that you don't waste your money buying one of these, and I hope the people at Champion hear this, and I hope they lose a lot of money on these pieces of junk because they're worthless. I had before this, years ago, I had a little Coleman generator I got years ago, at maybe 25 years ago, at Sam's Club. And that thing ran. It finally wore out on me a number of years ago. My son had it for a while. He was using it on the farm, and finally the seals were shot so that you'd have to replace basically the motor on it, you know, so it didn't leak oil. So, but I got my money's worth out of that one. This one is a piece of junk. So I'm letting you folks know this so that you can avoid this. I don't know if it's just a problem with this model or all the Champion generators, but you know what? I will never ever buy another Champion product again, period. So hopefully I can save some people out there aggravation so that you don't have the same problem. I don't care if people are going to say, here's how you can fix it and repair it. There aren't enough hours on this thing that it should have to be repaired. A generator should sit where you need it, ready to go. I never filled it full of gas. I kept some gas in, maybe a half a tank, but because I didn't want the gas to get too old or the stay-bill to wear out, I only would fill it maybe half full so that in an emergency I could at least get it started and get power going, and then I could put more gas in. So at any rate, and I have added fresh gas to this in just the last week again, so it's not that. And my point is, don't waste your money on this product or this company, because it's just not worth your time. I think this thing cost us like 400 bucks at Lowe's. That's like 8-9 years ago, whenever it was we got it. So it will go to the scrap yard if I don't use it for target practice before that. I'm tempted, believe me. Maybe I have a friend who'll take parts off of it and use it for something else. He fools with small engines, I don't know. But I'm going to get something better. I've got to do some research and see what the better generators are. I'm sure Honda makes a good portable generator. Probably the Coleman ones are still good too. But I will never go to Lowe's and buy another one of these pieces of junk ever again. So thank you for listening to this rant. I'm sorry that I had to go on and on like I did, but I'm just trying to help you out here. All right, thank you for listening.